Welcome. Thank you, family friends, for joining me at Maria Loves to Talk. And you know what I'll be talking about, right? No candles, no perfumes. What are we talking about, you guys? Before we talk about what I'm doing, I want to know, what have you been up to? What are you doing? Are you still at work, or have you went to the mall? You went to the beach? I don't know. Are there any beaches open right now? Hey, are you still fighting the snow? So what am I doing? We will be talking about crime, crazy story, Kim MOV 4. Police. Woman dies after boyfriend shoots her during her call to 911. That's a cold son of a biscuit. Sioux City, Iowa. An Iowa man is facing murder charges after police say he fatally shot his girlfriend while she was on the phone with 911. Police responded to a 911 domestic disturbance call around 9:30 p.m. Saturday in Sioux City, Iowa. The caller, 31-year-old Sarah Zoelle, pleaded for help. She said her boyfriend, 23-year-old Austin Self, SELF, had pointed a gun at her multiple times, according to the affidavit.
A man was arrested after a woman was shot and killed on Saturday night. According to a release from the Sioux City Police Department, officers responded to a report of a disturbance between a man and a woman who was pleading for help. The release states that officers found that woman inside of a residence and she was suffering from a gunshot wound. She was taken to a nearby hospital where she was later pronounced dead. 23-year-old Austin Self of Sioux City was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and 3 counts of child endangerment. Sarah Zoelle has been identified as the victim of that shooting.
The affidavit states that in addition to the baby, 2 other children ages 4 and 5 were in the home at the time of the shooting. None of the children were harmed. They have been placed in the custody of family members. Police are unsure what may have been the motive in the incident. Did she know she had a thug on her hand? Had he done this before? I mean, serious. Had her family warned her of him? Did her family tell her? Whew, gosh. Prayers go out to this poor lady and those babies. Wow. That is terrible. Fox 8, man sentenced in murder of mother found under Cleveland church steps. Church steps. Again, people are not respecting the house of the Lord. People are not respecting synagogues. People are not respecting the Muslim temples, the Sikh temples, the Hindu temples. They're not respecting. I call it the house of the Lord, but I mean, y'all know what I'm talking about. Religious building. They're not respecting it. No respect whatsoever. People used to have some kind of respect. They wouldn't do crazy, weird, demonic stuff. A man convicted of deleting a young mother was sentenced to life in prison with parole possibility after 15 years.
Murdered. Her lifeless body left under church steps.
Her killer will now serve life in prison with the possibility of parole after 15 years.
As Caitlin McCarthy tells us, it's finally some justice for this heartbroken family.
Jasmine Washington's family has prayed for justice. The Reverend's daughter was found murdered outside a church back in 2018. Her killer will now serve life in prison for the brutal killing.
Well, Jasmine was absolutely funny and she loved to sing. She was a very good singer. She loved people. She loved her family very much. She might have had some challenges, but she was still loved and she will not be forgotten.
Jasmine Washington is remembered as the light in her loved ones' lives. This mother of 3 was taken far too soon. Washington was brutally beaten and murdered in 2018. Her lifeless body found hidden under the steps of this Slavic village church. Her killer, Jamal Kukla, was on the run for nearly 2 years. At Kukla's sentencing, Her dad, Pastor James Washington, talked about receiving the phone call no parent should ever get.
Telling me that my firstborn daughter, not only was she dead, but that she was brutally murdered and left for days at the scene of the crime. The visual of seeing my daughter's foot sticking out from under some branches in the wooden steps is something that I will never forget.
Washington's family has prayed their daughter's killer would be held accountable. Kukla will now serve life in prison.
Jasmine's life had no meaning to him. He treated Jasmine as if she was nothing and disposed of her as if she was trash. And it's torture to think about because she wasn't that to us. She was something to us.
In the end, as this emotional hearing was winding down, Pastor Washington had a powerful message for his daughter's killer.
I want you to know, Jamal Kukla, I forgive you, but I will never be able to forget what you did to my daughter.
Reporting at the Justice Center, Caitlin McCarthy, 19 News.
Diabolical demon, diabolical trash. Prayers go out to this lady's family. It's just sad, the world that we live in. I almost wasn't going to do this story because it is sad. It's gut-wrenching, heart-wrenching, depressing. This is KSDK.com.
Former North County teacher accused of molesting a student, then hiring a hitman to kill the child, is going to trial. Our I-team uncovered Florissant police forgot to investigate the case for 3 years. Investigative reporter PJ Rendawa has the latest on the case.
Just hours before Deonte Taylor was slated to accept a plea deal Thursday, we got word that he wanted a jury trial instead. It's a long time coming. Here's some background on this very bizarre case.
In 2015, Deonte Taylor was a teacher's aide in the Hazelwood School District. Prosecutors say Taylor took a child out of class at Lusher Elementary and molested him. The 7-year-old reported the abuse, but the I-team discovered police did nothing. Taylor was not even questioned.
For some reason, this case just basically sat on somebody's desk and was not investigated properly.
So basically, an accused sexual predator was left free on the streets because this office dropped the ball.
Well, it wasn't my office that dropped the ball, it was my investigators that dropped the ball, yes.
You're in charge of those
Yes,
investigators, they're your employees, they represent this office.
We made a mistake. I mean, there's no doubt we made a mistake. We made a huge mistake.
It wasn't until 3 years later, when the child spoke about the abuse again, that Florissant police finally looked into the case. By this time, Taylor had moved on to a teaching position at Walnut Grove Elementary in the Ferguson-Florissant School District.
Oh, God. That is every parent's nightmare. Like, oh, my God.
3 years after the abuse, Taylor was finally arrested and charged. But here's the twist. While behind bars, prosecutors say Taylor and his boyfriend, Michael Johnson, hired a hitman to kill the child and the child's family.
And he told me that it was a 10-year-old boy and his mother and grandmother, and I kind of got interested, like, oh, are you serious? You want to hurt a baby? The only specific part he asked was that it looked like an accident.
That would-be hitman turned into a criminal informant. Now both Taylor and his boyfriend are behind bars.
In early 2019, St. Louis County prosecutors learned Taylor was HIV positive. He's facing charges for felony sodomy, conspiracy to commit murder, and recklessly risking the infection of another with HIV. His trial will begin August 9th. No trial date has been set for his partner, Michael Johnson.
The victim is now 10 years old. He and his family have started a GoFundMe page to help recoup some of the expenses they've had over the last 3 years.
Was in court today. It's a case our I-team found had been swept under the rug by Florissant police for years. Investigative reporter PJ Rendawa has been in court all day and has the latest.
In court Monday, Deonte Taylor decided to take his chances with the jury, turning down a 20-year plea deal from prosecutors. Without that deal, Taylor faces at least 35 years behind bars for charges of sodomy, conspiracy to commit murder, and exposing someone to HIV. In 2015, Taylor was a teacher's aide in the Hazelwood School District. Prosecutors say he took a 7-year-old student out of class at Lusher Elementary, was charged with sodomy. Then, while behind bars in early 2019, prosecutors say Taylor and his boyfriend, Michael Johnson, tried to hire this man to kill the student and his family.
He wanted to get them out the way so he can get himself out of prison.
This is John White, the would-be hitman Taylor met behind bars. White was in for a probation violation and scheduled to be released.
What did he actually say to you?
He had a job he needed done, and he felt like he was being wronged. And, you know, you want to make it look like an accident. It doesn't come back on him.
You accepted money to kill a 10-year-old child. How did you get to that point?
I seen how serious he was, and if he didn't get me to do it, he was going to get somebody else. And maybe that next person would have took it.
White began working with investigators.
This is where I met Michael the first time. He was just saying, I appreciate you doing this because Deonte needs to be home and I want my baby home with me. And he handed me $500. He said, I have to hurry up and get back to the church because I'm the choir coordinator.
Police arrested Taylor's boyfriend after that meeting. Both now face conspiracy to commit murder charges.
What would you say to the kid? If you could see the kid, I mean, you saved his life.
Stay strong. Don't let this define you.
A trial date for Taylor has been set for next April. John White believes he may be called to testify. We've also heard that cameras will be allowed in the courtroom.
So when he was taking this boy out of, I'm confused. Help me to make it make sense. Make it make sense. So how was he able to take a 7-year-old child out of class and nobody thought anything of it? Nobody said anything. Did the boy tell his parents? Did the boy say anything? Why didn't he say anything? Are these parents checking your kids? Are you talking to your kids? Are you checking your children underwear? Are you taking your children for health visits, health checkups? You know that you have this. I wonder if there are any other. I mean, if he's 36, and these monsters, these diabolical creatures, these devil rejects, these black creatures, these creatures from the Black Lagoon, they always want to stick themselves around children. If that's their thing, if that's their little MO or whatever, their little, who they got their gaze on, or if they are the ones that like to abuse or take advantage of old people, seniors, they work in either the old folks home, the facility, assisted living. They always somewhere are. We got the ones who want to be leeches and leech off of celebrities. They always find a way to get into the it party so they can get a celebrity to leech off or whatever. They need to bring the guillotines back. They need to bring the electric chair back. They need to get a pool and put some piranhas and stuff in it and throw these people in it. Can I say that? I don't know. You did all this. You screwed up. You destroyed a child's life, his future, and you got the parents with the next whatever for a lifetime of medical bills, therapy, no telling what else. I don't understand it. I don't. 36, your boyfriend's 66, but you got a penchant or a taste for little kids. And the school acting like they just so blind. Nobody saw, nobody suspected, nobody suspected anything. Nobody thought that was weird or strange. Nobody thought, let me look at this camera. Why I keep seeing him taking this child out of class? Why? Really?